Hi, I'm Dylighted, and today I want to analyze placements along with a subtle but critical mistake done on the finals of the World 2012 Championship game. The footage for this game was very hard to find and it was low quality, so I will be recreating this board on Tabletop Simulator. I'll put a link inside the description of the game that I'm about to talk about. Let's get started. First off, we have Rainer Biella. He's from Germany and he's representing orange in the first position. The second player, Joe Chan, is from Hong Kong and he will be representing white. The third player, Herbert Chager, is from Austria and will be representing the blue color. And finally, we have Justinas Norika playing as the fourth position, represented as the red color. So, taking a look at this board, we can immediately tell that there are two viable wheat hexes. There's the 9 wheat along with the 4 wheat. The 3 wheat and the 12 wheat is not strong enough. The second thing you can notice on this board is that there's a relatively strong amount of ore, along with a strong amount of sheep. The wood-brick ratio is sort of off. There's a lot more wood compared to brick, and the 5 brick is along the coast, so most likely only one person will start with strong brick. So in the first position, Rainer knows that this is a board where wheat will be very important. So let's take a look at the wheat spots. There's the 6-3-4 getting yourself the strong ore, decent wheat, and some sheep, and the other wheat spot is on the 9. The highest producing spot on the 9 wheat is at 8, 9, 10, and this is a very strong spot as it gives you ore, wheat, and wood. In total, it yields you 12 points of production, and you get a decent amount of ore, so you can potentially play a strong development card game. The other reason why the 8, 9, 10 is picked is because there is a lot of sheep on this board, and Rainer can play with the confidence that his second settlement will be on sheep, allowing him to play a strong development card game. Therefore, Rainer places his first settlement on the 8, 9, 10. For his road, Rainer decides to point left, which is a wise decision. The reason why he wants to point left is because you usually want to point to the lowest producing spot, as there's a low chance someone will place there. Pointing to the right does not make sense, as the spot will probably be contested or it will be taken. Pointing downwards on the 8, 9, 10 makes even less sense, because there's a 5, 8, 11 and there's a strong chance that can be a second settlement, letting you get cut off immediately. So Rainer makes a smart choice and places a settlement on the 8, 9, 10 and points his road to the left. Rainer took the 8, 9, 10 over the 6, 3, 4 because there's more production, he gets better wheat, and he has road winning material along with more expansion opportunities. There's not a rush to get sheep, especially on this high sheep board. So, it's now the second player's turn to pick, Joe Chan representing white, and he decides to place on the 6, 3, 4. He decides to place on the 6, 3, 4 because it gives him a strong ore wheat sheep ratio. This will allow Joe Chan to play a strong development card game, and there are a lot more spots for the second settlement that'll complement and reinforce his strong development card game. Joe now has a decision to place his road. He can point it to the left, but that doesn't really make sense since there's a good chance the 9-3-11 or the 6-3-11 will be taken. Or Joe can point it down towards the coast and get on the 3-1 port, potentially doubling up on the ore, or doubling up on the wheat and getting himself a 3-1 port. And the last option is pointing the road to the right. This will allow you to get to the sheep port on the 4-10 and double up on your wheat and get you some wood. Although currently Joe has low sheep, this is a high sheep board, and there's a strong chance that for his second settlement, he will be able to get on one of the high-producing sheep spots, and then be able to get on the sheep port, using the sheep port for flexibility and to buy more development cards, so he can win the largest army race. In the third position, Herbert, playing as blue, decides to place on the 4-9-8. I agree with this decision, because he is getting on the strong wheat sheep, and there are multiple ore spots left. There are at least 3 ore spots left, that being the 9-4-5, the 5-8-11, and the 3-6-11. Therefore, Herbert can place on the strong wheat sheep, playing with the confidence of getting a strong ore spot for his second settlement. This will allow him to play a strong development card game. The other reason why the 4-9-8 is important is because this is the last strong wheat sheep spot. There are no other strong wheat sheep spots. By Herbert placing on the 4-9-8, playing with the confidence to get a strong ore on his second settlement, he can play a strong development card game and also race for largest army. Now Herbert has to decide where to place his road. Once again, you want to point your road to the lowest producing spot, because there's a low chance that someone will place there. Although it seems counterintuitive to point your road to the lowest producing spots, this will ensure you get a settlement spot, and not waste a road at the very beginning of the game. Therefore, Herbert points his road to the left, trying to get the 10-4-12. So now we have the first 3 settlements down. Here's where it gets creative. Justinas as red decides to place his first settlement on the 5-8-11. This gives him strong sheep, strong ore, and a little bit of brick, and he can head to the ore port. But for his second settlement, he places on the other 5-8-11. getting himself the free road and the rare brick inside this game. For the 5-8-11 ore, he decides to point his road to the coast to try to get to the ore port or the 3-1 port. In the 5-8-11 wood brick, he decides to point his road inwards, playing with the confidence that he can get on the 3-9-11. So let's take a deeper look at what Justinas was thinking. By placing on the 5-8-11 wood brick second, this allows Justinas to start with the free road, and Justinas points to the right, trying to get on the 3-9-11 immediately. The 3-9-11 is a very strong spot to get. However, if red does not get on the 3-9-11, then Justinas will be locked out of wheat, and the famous saying goes, no wheat equals defeat. So why would Justinas take this risk? But that's because he decided to place it out and predict where everyone else would go. So here's how Justinas predicted the settlement placements would go. Blue is forced to take one of the strong ore spots, the 9-4-5 or the 6-3-11. Blue cannot take the 9-3-11 because if blue took the 9-3-11, then they cannot win. That is too weak of a setup. Therefore, they had to choose one of the strong ore spots, the 6-3-11 or the 9-4-5. Probably the 6-3-11 because there's a port. Now let's take a look at white. Joe Chan as white has a strong ore wheat sheep setup and is only looking to reinforce his setup. It doesn't make sense to take the 9-3-11 when there's a strong spot such as a 9-4-5 open. And because Joe Chan pointed right towards a sheep port, red knows that Joe Chan is looking to get on a strong sheep spot. Therefore, it won't make sense for white to take the 9-3-11. Now, let's take a look at first position, Reiner. It doesn't make sense for Reiner to take the 9-3-11 either, as this is a very weak producing spot. Reiner is also looking to reinforce his ore wheat sheep game, and he's looking for more ore and production in general. Therefore, he can't take the 9-3-11. So let's look at what else he can take. Reiner can take the 6-10-12 or the 6-2-10, yielding him more sheep and ore to play a strong development card game. Another option Reiner could do is to take the 8-3-10 and point his road downwards, racing white for the sheep port. Although risky, he could play a strong development card game and convert all that sheep to whatever he needs to buy more development cards. But whatever option he chooses, he will not take the 3-9-11, which lets red get on the 3-9-11 instead. So because Justinas predicted where everyone else would go, he plays with the confidence that he can get wheat. The reason why the 3-9-11 is so strong is because it not only gets red wheat access, it is also the triple shared wheat. The reason why the triple shared wheat is so important is because when there's 3 people on a wheat spot, no one on the shared wheat tile will block it, except for the person who's not on it. Therefore, the 9 wheat will not be blocked very much. The second reason why the 3-9-11 is so strong is because red has a strong wood brick setup, and he's set up to get longest road. And if he gets on the 3-9-11, this helps him have strong ore and wheat, and it's very important for road players to get cities. In addition, if red does get the 9-3-11, there's a chance that the 8-3-10 won't be taken either, allowing red to have 2 great settlement spots to build to, the 9-3-11 and the 8-3-10. And if red gets on both of those spots, red will be able to connect and take longest road, unthreatened. Another reason why for the double 5-8-11 placements is because red actually locks up all the brick. In this game, because red locked up all the brick, now everyone's wood is completely useless without the brick. Therefore, when red is trading the brick, he can demand multiple cards. Even if red somehow gets locked out of wheat, red can trade the brick at a very high price, since red needs wheat. Either way, red has a locked win condition. No one can challenge red for longest road when red is on all points of brick, and no one else is on any points of brick. If red doesn't trade the brick, then everyone's wood becomes useless. This way, red can secure the longest road win condition without having to fight for largest army. This is a very clever play, especially when there's 3 players already fighting for largest army. Trying to win a 3-player race for night cards is very difficult to do, and red decides to choose the other win condition and have no competition. Another small tidbit with red's placement is that every single time an 11 rolls, red gets a road. So those are all the reasons why Justinas decides to place on the double 5-8-11. But now, let's break down what actually happened. Herbert as blue now has 2 great ore spots to choose from, the 9-4-5 or the 6-3-11. Although the 9-4-5 is higher producing, there are no good ports for blue. Blue can go for the ore port, but there's a high chance that red will take it instead. Also, if blue decides to go on the 9-4-5, blue has 9 points of sheep, but no 3-1 port and no sheep port, and his hand will be flooded with sheep that he cannot use. Instead, blue decides to go on the 6-3-11, getting him the strong ore, a little bit of wheat, and a little bit of wood. The 6-3-11 is stronger because there's better ore and there's an unblockable 2 points of wheat. the 3 wheat. The reason why I say it's unblockable is because it's unreasonable for any other players to place the robber on the 3 wheat. Therefore, the 3 wheat will be open the entire game. Herbert decides to point his road to the left, trying to get on the 5-3. The reason why he did this is because he wants to double up on the 2 points of unblockable wheat along with getting on the 5 brick, since no one else is going to have brick. And if Herbert is able to get on the 5 brick, then he will have an almost 1-to-1 ratio of wood brick. 4 points of brick, 5 points of wood, which is what he wants to build roads and to build settlements. Now, it's second position's turn, Joe Chan, and he decides to do the surprise move and build on the 9-3-11, killing red and taking out his wheat source. So why did he take the 9-3-11? Let's try to see his rationale. The first reason why Joe Chan chose the 9-3-11 is because it gets him on the triple shared wheat. As I said earlier, this 9 wheat won't be blocked very much, especially since all 3 players on the 9 wheat are or wheat sheep players. They will be buying a lot of development cards and getting knights, and that spot will never be blocked. The second reason why he placed on the 9-3-11 was to lock red out of wheat. This puts red in a very bad position, as wheat is a critical resource to be locked out of. Now, the third reason why he placed on the 9-3-11 is because he points his road to the right. So, Joe Chan's plan was to get himself on the 8-3-10, and then eventually get on the 4-10 sheep port. Having the 9-3-10, the 8-3-10, and the sheep port is a very strong setup. He will be having a lot of sheep to convert to whatever he needs to buy more development cards. And in addition, he will be triple built on the 3 sheep that will never be blocked. Joe Chan isn't afraid of losing the 8-3-10 spot, as he knows orange will build on the 9-4-5 instead. Although red starts with a free road, red seemingly has 2 options. Their first option is to build on the ore port and be able to convert the ore for the wheat that they're missing. The second option is to build 2 roads backwards and get on the 5-3. And because it seems like those are the options for red, therefore the 8-3-10 should be safe, and therefore getting on the sheep port would be an amazing setup for Joe Chan. The last reason why he plays on the 9-3-11 is because of trades. Joe Chan does not have very much road building material. However, what he does have is a lot of wheat. He has 7 points of wheat. Because he just locked red out of wheat, red will be wanting to trade for wheat, and red has the rare brick that everyone wants. And because Joe Chan has the most wheat out of everyone, he should be able to score trades with red, allowing red to get some wheat and allowing him to get his rare roads to build on the 8-3-10 and the sheep port. So, as first position, Reiner as orange scores a home run and gets the 9-4-5 as the last pick of the game. This spot has 12 points of production, gives strong ore, gives the wheat that he's missing, and gives 4 points of wood. Reiner is in a very strong spot since he's on the unblockable wheat, has 2 strong ore tiles, and has strong sheep. His wheat sheep is also coordinated, which is very useful, since a lot of the times you need wheat, you also need sheep. The only weakness I see with this setup is the fact that he has no brick, and it's hard for him to get ports. Reiner's hand is going to be filled with a lot of useless woods, just like everyone else. So, those are the final placements, and as a famous saying goes, no wheat equals defeat, and red was not able to win this game. It's imperative that you have wheat access, since wheat is a universal donor. You need wheat to do anything important inside this game. Everyone wants wheat. So how do you fix Red's mistake and prevent him from getting locked out of wheat? Here's a simple solution that was thought of while retaining all of the placements. All that was changed was Red's road. If Red had pointed their road downwards on the 5-8-11 ore, then Red suddenly threatens the 8-3-10 spot. This is very detrimental to White, because if Red gets the 8-3-10 spot, then suddenly White's plan to get on the sheep port is completely ruined, as he has low sheep. The next issue for White is that he can get locked in and he won't have very good settlement spots. The 4-10, and that's about it. Since pointing the road downwards disrupts the sheep port combo by White, White now would not place on the 9-3-11 and lock Red out of the wheat. This would ruin the plan of having high sheep and the sheep port. Pointing the road downward would not only threaten the 8-3-10 spot, but it can also build on the 10-11, so it's not a wasted road. By pointing the road down, this would force White to place on the 9-4-5, then Blue would take the 6-3-11, and then Orange can take the 6-10-12, the 6-2-10, or the 8-3-10, and play a very strong game where he has high ore wheat and all the brick to himself. This was the subtle but critical mistake made by Red. So, let's try to learn some lessons from these national champions. The first lesson we can learn is use your starting roads to threaten settlement spots. By having a starting road and pointing your road aggressively, this will scare other people to not racing you and respect your ability to quickly expand and take away settlement spots. If red had pointed his road downwards aggressively, then he would not be locked out of wheat. The second lesson we can learn is to always look at the worst case scenario and be prepared for it. This is how you avoid red's situation. Instead of having an optimistic mindset of no one will play us on the 9-3-11 because it doesn't make sense for them, instead the mindset should be, why would someone take the 9-3-11 and how do I prevent it? If red had thought about the situation differently and tried to avoid the worst case scenario, then red would not be locked out of wheat. The third and final lesson of this game is the monopoly resource to get super strong trades or hurt other players. Red in this game was still very close to winning and he got to 8 points because he had the brick all to himself. He could either get very good trades for the brick or he can hold on to the brick and not let anyone build roads. I'd like to say a thank you to Like the Groundhog. He played this board over 50 times and was able to figure out the solution. This was not my idea, but his. Anyways, I'm Dylighted, and I hope you learned something.